The Texas Longhorns are still on fire on the hardwood.
Yards shy of the record. Williams breaks a hole. Williams, hello record book. Ricky Williams runs to the Hall of Fame. Touchback. Ricky Williams, touchdown.
Young from the shotgun. Back to throw. Vince looks under pressure. He'll tuck it in and run. Vince to the 5. Young, touchdown Texas. Touchdown Vince Young. He's done it again.
Longhorn Nation, we're back!
Welcome into another edition of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. I am your host, Matt Galatzan of Texas Longhorns on SI. Joining me today is my co-host, Zach Dimmitt. Zach, the Longhorns remain on fire on the hardwood. Getting their fifth win in a row, something they have not done in a very long time. Fifth conference win in a row, I should say. Something they have not done in a very long time. Taking down LSU 88-85. 4 starters for the Longhorns with at least 17 points or more, including another stellar performance from Dalen Swain. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 12 from the field to go along with 2 assists. Zach, it's really starting to, like, I know it was LSU. I know that they're not the best team in the SEC, and then, there's some there left to be desired in terms of a quality win, but 5 in a row in the SEC is something that I didn't see this team accomplishing at any point earlier in the year. And now it seems like they're really on track to make a tournament run, and they're going to be firmly in the field if they continue to play this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any scenario, unless they lose the rest of their games by 20, that they'd be left out of the NCAA tournament field. Just a win or two more, maybe one win in the SEC tournament, that'll get Texas in, regardless of what seed it is. Even if they somehow are having to settle for the first 4 again, they'll be in. I feel pretty confident about that. They won't be left out. It's definitely a better situation than last year's team. With that win against Missouri this past weekend, they already surpassed the SEC win total from last season under Rodney Terry. So, and there's still now a few games left to go. And last night's game, it wasn't the prettiest. Texas was up 48-33 at halftime. They led by as many as 17. It looked like they're about to run away with it. They were hitting lots of threes. There was one point in the first half where it was 3 straight threes on 3 straight possessions for Texas, and it was one of those things where, like, oh, it looks like this will be one of those metric boosting sort of wins, where you're not beating a good team necessarily, but you're beating them by a lot, so your metrics get boosted up really, really well. And it didn't turn out to be that way. Texas got outscored 52-40 in the second half by LSU, which is pretty surprising. The Tigers did not have anything really going in the first half. They were missing tons of easy layups. Nothing was going for them. But Max McKinnon, the Australian guard, he was on fire last night. I was covering the game at the Moody Center for Texas Longhorns on SI, and it was he was really impressive. I was talking to some of the other guys there, asking, does this guy have any eligibility left? Because Texas needs to get him out of the portal next year, but unfortunately, he does not have any eligibility left, because he was really a good player. He came off the bench for a game high 27 points, so that was impressive. But from the Texas side of things, the defense, they left a lot to be desired. Sean Miller even joked that after Jordan Pope missed a defensive assignment, that he wanted him to run out of the arena really quick and run sprints up the hill as punishment during the timeout before coming back to join the huddle. Obviously, he was joking, but these are the kind of gems that Sean Miller has been delivering during his press conferences this season, and so you like to see that. But yeah, Texas, you're not going to complain about 5 straight SEC wins. Yes, LSU hasn't had the best of seasons, but they've been competitive with some good teams this year. So it's not like they've gotten blown out of the water in every single game. So it is what it is. You get to learn. If you're Texas, you get to learn some lessons from a win instead of learning some lessons from what would have been a really bad loss at home. So you take what you can get. 5 straight wins is 5 straight wins, regardless of who it comes against in the SEC. And so Sean Miller, he has this team on the right track. They're now up to the number 5 overall offense in the country, according to Ken Palm, which is insane to think. I don't think anyone expected that coming into the season. The defense, though, is ranked exactly number 100 in the country. That's a major problem. So you got to – nothing's going to change in the blink of an eye of these last couple of games, but you need to just, steady the ship as best you can. Texas isn't going to have the best defense in the country heading into March or anything by far. So, you got to do what you can, continue to be a lead on offense, and just hold it down on defense. I think this team will be fine.
Yeah, what is it exactly that they have been doing offensively you're our basketball expert, so you tell me, what have they been doing offensively that has gotten them to this level? Because before conference play, it was a very inconsistent offense. I mean, obviously they were all still starting to learn, or like trying to learn the system under Sean Miller. It was kind of a slow burn getting all these guys on the same page and getting the effort to the right level and all of those things. But Jordan Pope's been playing well. Dalen Swain has obviously been unbelievable in SEC play. And it seems like they've had some complementary pieces so far that have really put this offense. I mean, the fact that this offense, if you told me 3 weeks ago or a month ago before conference play started, whenever that was, that the Texas Longhorns basketball offense would be a top 5 offense in college basketball, I would have called you crazy. But here we are. They're one of the best offenses in the country. What are they doing differently now than they were doing, at the start of conference play?
Yeah, well, it certainly hasn't been due to high pace or anything like that, where they're just blowing teams out of the water with these crazy, sets and plays. It hasn't been any of that. It's just been really, great efficiency. When you have someone like Modest Titus and Dalen Swain, both those guys are very efficient scorers. And when they're your 2 top scorers, that's going to make your offense look really good. Tremont Mark and Jordan Pope, they've had some up and down moments here and there, but overall they're very efficient as well. Texas is currently second in the SEC in field goal percentage at 49.5. So it's really going to help your offense look a lot better. It's not necessarily about who's putting up the most points, but at the same time, Texas is still, solid offense, 85.3 points per game. But that field goal percentage is what kind of stands out. Your offense is judged based on how efficient you are and, how many points you're getting per possession. And when Texas is second SEC in free throw attempts per game at 27, which is I think top 10 in the country, if I'm not mistaken, you're getting lots of points per possession. So your offensive number is going to go up, and that's kind of what's been happening. So Sean Miller even said, I believe it was after the Missouri game, that if you would have told him at the beginning of the year that this offense would be, getting run by guys that are scoring off the dribble and one-on-one scenarios, he would have thought you were crazy. But that's just how this team has kind of been constructed. Dalen Swain, Jordan Pope, Tremont Mark, all 3 of those guys can kind of just score one-on-one, and they can do it at a high clip. And so when you have that, and then you have someone like Titus down low who can score one-on-one against a good amount of bigs, your numbers are going to look good. That's not really sustainable, in my opinion, for a deep run in March. I don't think anyone expects Texas to make it to the Final Four or anything like that. But when you do have elite shot makers that can take defenders one-on-one, that is a recipe for a potential upset. Because there's nothing you can do. You can have the best defense in the world, and it still may not be able to shut down a guy that can ISO you very well. So that's kind of what it's been, is just efficiency, getting to the free throw line, and then at the same time, Texas doesn't shoot a ton of threes to where their efficiency is going down. They have the 4th fewest 3-point attempts in the conference, 21.6. I believe last night they hit maybe 7 threes or whatever it was, and that was the highest. They were 7 of 13 or something like that. I don't have it in front of me, but that was the highest percentage they've shot from 3 the entire season. So they're not shooting a ton, and they're making the most of it. It hasn't been consistent behind the arc all season long, but it's been pretty steady. So it's just about the efficiency for Texas. That's why their offense has had the metrics that it does. When you watch them, you may not think that, because they're not just running the craziest plays, craziest sets you've ever seen. Like a team like Alabama where they get out and run and shoot a ton of threes. It's just not how this team is constructed. But it's just been about efficiency, talented scoring, and getting to the free throw line. That's kind of been the recipe.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their numbers last night, 56% from the floor, 54% from three. They out-rebounded LSU 34-27. They only turned the ball over 8 times. They only forced 5 turnovers, but you only turn it over 8 times. That's still a really good number. And only 14 fouls. This team has had a big problem fouling. They only fouled 14 times last night. That's 25 for LSU, by the way. So that makes a big difference. You wish they would have been a little bit better from the free throw line, only 23 of 34, which is around 68%. But bottom line, Zach, you got to win. And now you're setting yourself up for a really critical stretch of your season. The final 5 games, 4 of those are against really quality opponents in Georgia this weekend. And then you come home to face Florida, and then you have back-to-back road games against A&M and Arkansas, and then you close up the season against Oklahoma. I mean, as it stands, you're currently 17-9. If you can go, 3-2 in your next 5, you'll get to that magic 20 win mark. Even if you go 2-3, 2 of those wins are going to be against, or at least one of those wins is going to be against a quality opponent. You feel really good about your chance to get into the March Madness tournament at that point.
Yeah, no matter who it comes against, it's going to be tough to beat Florida at home. Florida is an absolute machine. They have guards that can score. They have elite bigs that can rebound. And then at Arkansas is going to be really tough. If you can at least win one of the road games and then take care of business against Oklahoma, you're going to be doing yourselves a lot of favors if you're Texas. So any sort of road game that you can win in the SEC is going to be big. Georgia just beat Kentucky at Rupp Arena last night, and Georgia has not had the best of seasons despite the way they started, and so they really needed that. So it's going to be tough for Texas against Georgia if they're kind of picking things back up for themselves. Yeah, but you got to win at least one of those road games. If you can beat Georgia and A&M on the road, and then beat Oklahoma, and then your 2 losses are to ranked teams in Florida and Arkansas, that's perfectly acceptable if you're Sean Miller. You can't be too greedy at this point. It's unlikely Texas is going to win the last 5 games of the season and head into the SEC tournament. But yeah, this stretch, I don't care who the teams they've beaten are. I know it's been like some of the bottom barrel teams in the SEC. But this stretch has really changed the season for Texas, and combine that with their 2 wins they had against Alabama and Vanderbilt, and then at home against Georgia, all 3 ranked teams. This stretch has really changed the season for Texas, and so it's interesting to see what they can do moving forward.
Yeah, and A&M would be a quality win. Georgia would be a quality win. Oklahoma even it's like, I know that they're not the best team in the SEC by any stretch, but they've been a solid team this year. They've had some good wins. They're probably not going to make the tournament, but they have had some good wins to their name. And that A&M game is also especially interesting to me because you're talking about a team who's lost 4 in a row. They've got one tonight against Ole Miss that they should win, but if they continue to slide, that's another a game that you should have a decent shot of winning if you can continue to kind of frustrate them the way that they have been frustrated the last few games. So really interesting to see where this Texas basketball season goes as we head over the final stretch of 5 games into the year and then into the SEC tournament. But let's change gears, Zach. When we come back from this short break, we're going to go over to some Texas Longhorns football. We're going to talk transfer portal, and we're going to tell you some instant impact freshmen that could make a big impact on the field in 2026. So stick with us after this quick break, and we'll be right back.
This episode of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast is brought to you by Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi. Custom Built Trailers is the largest in-stock trailer dealer in Mississippi with a variety of options to choose from flatbed goosenecks to bumper pull equipment trailers and car haulers to enclosed trailers and basic utility trailers. We do a little bit of everything. And if we don't have exactly what you're looking for in stock, we can typically have your custom built trailer built in 7 to 10 working days. 0% financing options are available, and we also deliver out of state. So give Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi a call at 601-722-9581 today and let us take care of your hauling needs. Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi. If we don't have it, we'll be glad to build it.
Welcome back to the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. I'm your host, Matt Galatzan. Joining me is my co-host, Zach Dimmitt, also of Texas Longhorns on SI. And it's time to talk more football, Zach. Let's get into the Transfer Portal Redux Defense Edition in our inaugural, I can never say that word correctly. In our first episode of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast, we went over the offensive transfer portal editions, kind of giving you guys a rundown of everything that they did on that side of the ball. Not as much on the defensive side of the ball, but still some very quality additions we will go through today. And it starts on the defensive line, Zach, a pair of very big nose tackles for this team. Ian Gaffard out of Arkansas is the real big one. He's about 380 pounds. He'll have 2 years of eligibility left. He should be an immediate starter and a natural fit at the nose tackle position in Will Muschamp's defense. And behind him, you also have an LSU freshman named Zion Williams who comes over. He will have 3 years of eligibility remaining, a very talented player, but more of a depth and developmental piece going into next year. Both of these guys are near perfect fits for what Will Muschamp likes in his nose tackle. Big space eaters that can move people, hold their ground, and create space for linebackers to rush the passer or fit into those run gaps. Both of these are massive additions, but especially Gaffard, who didn't get a whole lot of pub, coming into the transfer portal because Arkansas's defense was atrocious last year. It wasn't because of Ian Gaffard. It was the complementary pieces in the secondary and the linebacker, like the surrounding pieces that really struggled. He's a really good player. He should fit into this defense very well. And this defensive line now all of a sudden seems once again like one of the best defensive lines in all of the SEC.
Yeah, that's the standard that Texas has kind of set for itself, right? One of the best defenses in the conference and even the country the past couple of seasons. And certainly this past year, there was some moments where it wasn't the best. And yet you look up at the end of the year and Texas still statistically up there when it came to sacks, rushing yards allowed. It's been very impressive what Pete Kwiatkowski was able to do. But now you move on and you have Will Muschamp leading the way. So, I like the additions, both SEC guys. It can't be, underestimated how important it is to have, SEC experience. I know particularly with Zion Williams, he didn't, get a ton of playing time at LSU, but Texas had recruited him out of high school and they had built that relationship already. So it probably was a little bit easier to secure that commitment out of the portal. But when you have SEC experience, the transition is going to be a little bit more, seamless. And so with Gaffard, I like that addition. And you get Hero Canoe back as well for another year. He could have gone to the NFL if he wanted. And so when you have two guys like that in the middle, that's going to do wonders for this defense when it comes to stopping the run. And then at the same time, you're still bringing back Colin Simmons, of course. Lance Jackson's going to grow into his own next season. And then the linebackers as well. It's all a group effort when it comes to stopping the run. It's, of course, not just the guys up front, but it does start up front. So you got to have big SEC bodies if you want to go toe-to-toe with these opposing offensive lines. Let's be real. The defensive tackles aren't going to blow you away with crazy sack numbers, eye-popping stats or anything like that. That's just not what the position does. But I think, as the season goes on later this fall and we look on film, it'll be pretty impressive what that group is able to do. And starts with Gaffard and, of course, the return of Hero Canoe, and hopefully Zion Williams can come in and make his mark as well.
Yeah, and let's not forget, you're also bringing back Murad Watson. You're also bringing back Alex January. You've got Myron Charles coming in. He redshirted last season. He's projected to be a very good player. Josiah Sharma is going to be at that nose tackle spot. He's going to be a very good player. once he's gets some on the field experience. And you've also got James Johnson, true freshman, coming in that a lot of people are very excited about and could feel like he could have a really, really nice career at Texas and perhaps even be a day 1, day 2 NFL draft pick when it's all said and done. So really deep, really talented room on the interior for the Longhorns. No additions at the edge spot thus far. We talked yesterday about the possibility of Kamarian Morgan out of Baylor. He is considering Texas. He still has to make his decision. There are other teams involved there, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. You move to the linebacker group. 3 additions in the linebacker room for Texas. The big dog, Rasheem Biles, out of Pittsburgh, absolute playmaker, absolute stud. He runs all over the field. He makes plays. He forces turnovers. He can pretty much do it all, and there are a lot of people who believe that he could be a All-American candidate in Austin in Will Muschamp's defense. So that's a really exciting one. Then you also bring in Juice Cryer out of Florida State, who should be a good fit as a Mike linebacker in Will Muschamp's defense. There's a lot to be said about the loss of Bo Barnes, and Juice Cryer gives you a more immediate impact veteran player that should be a very good, consistent presence in the middle of that defense. And then late in the transfer portal window, you also brought in Marcus Boswell out of Akron, the Austin native. And he's a guy that's a long-term projection, long-term developmental piece, should provide a little bit of depth. But now you kind of look at that depth chart, and it can go a lot of different ways. You obviously lose Anthony Hill and Leongo Lafau and Bo Barnes, but you bring in Cryer, Boswell, and Biles. And now, you could attack this thing a lot of different ways. You could put Biles and Anthony Smith as your 2 starting linebackers, Anthony Smith at the mic and Rasheem Biles at the will, or you could, put Juice Cryer in there and kind of rotate Anthony Smith or Rasheem Biles in there. However you want to do it. This is a very interesting and exciting linebacker group that I honestly can't wait to see hit the field next season.
I'm with you. I really loved what Texas did at the linebacker position this offseason. There's a lot to love throughout how the roster changed and how they addressed multiple positions, but it really does start with linebacker, in my opinion. Because you were expecting to lose Anthony Hill, but Leongo Lafau was a little bit surprising that he left. I think that they upgraded, though. I like Leongo Lafau a lot. I think he was great at Texas, but when they're able to add a guy like Rasheem Biles, and then you return Anthony Smith, Justin Cryer as well, Marcus Boswell, he's not going to maybe contribute right away, but it's just a really nice group that you're going to have next season if you're Texas. And man, Rasheem Biles, talk about a guy that might be a near perfect fit. No one's a perfect fit, but a near perfect fit for Will Muschamp's defense. Like you mentioned, he can wreak havoc. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got a lot of special teams experience in his past when he was at Pitt. And I think that's kind of helped him be a guy that's just relentless on defense. He's not really going to play special teams next year, that's for sure. At least I don't think he should, because he'll be focused on defense. So, but that experience has kind of helped him when you watch him, just how quick he is and how fast he is, and he's kind of a menace at the linebacker position. That's what you need right in the middle there. So, yeah, I agree with you. I really love that they've done at that position. And I expect big things because that's been a position of strength the past couple of years. Of course, Anthony Hill leading the way, and so lots of changes with some guys that have left the program, but at that position. But when you bring in some of these new guys, and then I really love the return of Anthony Smith because I think of course against Michigan, 2 interceptions. He's a little bit undersized as a linebacker. But I think he's got great instincts. He's got speed. And, of course, we saw what he did, in pass coverage this past season. So I really like that unit.
Yeah, and he can put on some pounds.
Right.
He'll have another full offseason in the Texas weight and conditioning program, and he will beef up a little bit and become, a little bit more physically imposing, I'm sure. But just some of these stats for Rasheem Biles are absolutely insane. Like, I love looking at his game log because, early in the season, 11 tackles against Central Michigan, 1.5 tackles for loss, 15 the next week against West Virginia with a tackle for loss. And then against Louisville the week after that, 12 tackles with an interception and 4 tackles for loss. Like, that's unbelievable. You go a little bit further down into the season, and then he closes the year with 15 tackles and a tackle for loss against Georgia Tech, 8 tackles and half a tackle for loss against Miami. But then against East Carolina, and I know people say, "Oh, it's East Carolina." They're a pretty good team. Like, let's. There's no doubt about that. They were a pretty good team. He played in that bowl game, 16 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, an interception, a forced fumble, a pass deflection, and a fumble return for a touchdown. Overall, the guy had just one of the best statistical years that you could possibly imagine for a linebacker. I mean, he was so good. Finished it with 101 total tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 2 picks. And Sports Reference has him with only 1 defensive touchdowns. I'm pretty sure he had 2 or 3 on the year. I think they've got that wrong.
Yeah, according to ESPN's log, he had 2 pick sixes and then a fumble recovery for a touchdown. It's not often you see that. So.
Yeah, he's just a flat out playmaker. I'm switching over to the ESPN logbook. Yeah, I mean, this dude's unbelievable. I cannot wait to see him hit the field. Will Muschamp's defense, but the final defensive addition that they made, at least so far, because we talked yesterday how there could be another one. Then maybe they'll add a veteran safety. Who knows? But they signed Bo Masco out of Rutgers. He was the 2nd highest rated corner in the Big Ten in 2025 per PFF. With the loss of Manny Muhammad, this addition cannot be understated because he gives you another extremely talented corner who can help lock down one side of the field. He's very familiar with Mark Orfe, the Texas corners coach, who was previously at Rutgers and helped land Bo Masco up there. And I believe it's in, East Rutherford or something like that Rutgers is in.
Somewhere in New Jersey.
Yeah, somewhere in New Jersey. But he's going to be a huge addition. He should start immediately. And with him and probably Cade Phillips on the other side as your 2 starting corners, backed up by Kobe Black and Warren Roberson, who is also returning after both, briefly flirted with the idea of the portal. Now you have a legit 4-man corner rotation that should be very, very solid, especially with another year. And these guys all have traits that you love in a Will Muschamp defense as well. So this seems, at least for now, like it could be a championship secondary that the Longhorns have. And let's not forget, Derek Williams also entered the portal. And I'm going to count this one as an addition for the Longhorns because he was on his way out of town. Texas made the switch to Will Muschamp. He liked what Will Muschamp was pitching. Now he is back at the 40 acres, and he's going to be probably a starter in this secondary. So there's a lot to like about what they did back there.
For sure. Some fans might look at the fact that they only got 1 corner out of the portal and Bill Masco and, question, what the direction is there. But I think when you get guys that you recruited out of high school and now they're all your core guys in the secondary, that really says a lot about the way Steve Sarkisian and staff recruited the secondary, especially at corner. So I really like it. Grayson Littleton, Cade Phillips, man, did he really come on late last season? Jalen Gilbo had been consistently, getting tons of starting level reps in the secondary for a few seasons, and he struggled a little bit. And Cade Phillips, they didn't hesitate to put Cade Phillips in as a starter over him, and he kind of just ran with his opportunity. And I think it says a lot about what he can do next season. So you combine him with Bill Masco. You mentioned Warren Roberson. You get back Jelani McDonald, which is a huge retention. Xavier Filsaime as well. And Kobe Black, it seemed like he was out the door as well, cornerback. And you thought, okay, we're going to have to get another corner if you're the Longhorns, and you get him to return as well. That secondary, it could have looked a lot different if some of these guys didn't return because they were their foot was halfway out the door. But so a lot of these retentions are really big. I'm pretty confident what the secondary can do. The secondary has been one of those positions for Texas the past couple of years. It's been a little bit up and down at times. It's either been a little bit shaky or it's been pretty solid. And last season it was a little bit on the shakier side at times. There were some good moments for sure, but I think, like you mentioned, like it was on yesterday's show or whatever, Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, some of these corners were like 10 yards off the receiver, and there's not really a lot of aggressiveness there. That I can't wait to see what that looks like with Will Muschamp. How will he use the corner blitz? How will he, disguise coverages? I'm excited to see that, and particularly with Kobe Black. I know he had the interception, of course, against A&M, but he had, he was a little bit quiet this past season as a true freshman, though. He had made some good plays. So now what does he look like coming into his third season? I'm excited to see what he can do. He's lengthy. He's got great ball skills. So that whole position, the whole position group, corner and safety, is really exciting because you have not a lot of transfer guys except for Bo Masco. So it's just a lot of the guys that Texas recruited out of high school. And so now you're going to see what they can do.
Yeah, and then you also have guys like Xavier Filsaime, Jonah Williams, Zealous Hicks, who should be more involved next season. And let's not forget, Grayson Littleton was an absolute star at the star position as a true freshman. Maybe they end up moving him outside and putting somebody else at star. He's going to be somewhere in that secondary, and he's going to be very, very good once again for the Longhorns in 2026. And now let's change gears again, Zach. I wanted to kind of highlight, this was an excellent recruiting class for the Longhorns. It wasn't 35 players and 24 stars and 10 5-stars or anything like that, but it was a top 10 class. Some I think had him ranked as high as 7, and I think ESPN even had them higher, like all the way up at like number 1 or number 2 or something like that at one point. Maybe they closed that way. I don't know. I don't really pay too much attention to ESPN's recruiting rankings because it feels like they're so wildly different from everyone else's. But I wanted to pick a couple of instant impact freshmen that we think could have a big say in what goes on in the season in 2026 for Texas. And I'll start off. I love this kid. It's probably my favorite signing that they made in the entire class, and I don't think I'm alone when I say this. Jermaine Bishop Jr. is going to be electric. I don't care where he lines up, which will probably be in the slot. He will probably be involved in special teams. You can use this guy in so many different ways. He could even play corner, really, if you needed him to. He played a lot of corner in high school. He set Texas high school records for his production offensively and receiving and all these different things. You get the ball in this guy's hands. He's an instant highlight reel. I've seen some people compare him to, some of those receivers that Steve Sarkisian had, like Jalen Waddle at Alabama, who was absolutely unbelievable in that stretch for Alabama. He's that kind of player. I cannot wait to see him get on the field in Austin and what Steve Sarkisian can do with him.
Yeah, Sark doesn't even really know quite yet. I mean, at least whenever he spoke to the media a few months back, he still doesn't really know quite yet where Jermaine Bishop will play. Maybe he has a better idea now as the team has gotten acclimated to campus and with spring practice kind of around the corner here in a few weeks. They're probably going to be leaning, I would hope at least, leaning towards him playing receiver. Just because when you have a guy that's as talented as Jermaine Bishop is, you don't want to waste any opportunities. You want to get the ball in his hands as much as you can. Certainly I think he could play in the secondary, but it's, in my opinion, it'll be in his best interest to just pick a position and stick with it. Not everyone's going to be Travis Hunter. It's just not the reality. You're not going to play both positions and win the Heisman every single year. It's just not going to happen. So I think if he focuses on one side, I hope I'm wrong, but if he focuses on one side, that'll be in his best interest and in Texas's best interest. So yeah, really excited to see him. For me, of course, all eyes are going to be on Diabell, but I think just wait another year, obviously, with him. He's not going to be the backup. He's probably going to just enter as the fourth string. and redshirt the whole year. So put him on hold until 2027. So Tyler Atkinson at linebacker. We actually forgot to mention him in the last segment when we talk about the linebacker group.
Oh, I did that on purpose.
Oh, okay, I see. I forgot to mention him, so I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, instant impact freshman. When you talk about Jermaine Bishop, he'll certainly have an impact day one. I think Tyler Atkinson arguably will have a bigger instant impact as a freshman just because of his skill level, the way he can play multiple positions as a linebacker. He can rush the passer, drop back into coverage. I'm really excited to see this guy. It says a lot that we think that about him, considering what Texas did at the linebacker position this offseason. If they maybe added one guy out of the portal and retained a few other faces, as depth pieces, okay, maybe Tyler Atkinson will be an instant impact just by default. But I think despite the additions they made, he'll still be right there as a centerpiece of that defense, maybe alongside Rasheem Biles and Ty Anthony Smith. He could emerge as that third linebacker this upcoming season. So we'll see what Justin Cryer can do. Marcus Boswell is talented as well, but I think Tyler Atkinson is going to be a stud. So maybe he's one of those guys that grows into his own as the year goes on, and then he has an impact near the end of the year, and you may not see him right away. But I think certainly by next season, he will be a surefire star, or by 2027, he'll be a surefire star, and you'll see flashes of that this fall.
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there who are comparing him to Roquan Smith. I don't know if anybody remembers Roquan Smith at Georgia, but holy cow, he was a stud. And he's widely considered one of, if not the most college-ready freshman at the linebacker position in the entire 2026 class. So I expect him to have a big impact. I expect him to slide right in and be at least a rotational piece early on, like maybe something akin, not used in exactly the same way because he was mostly used as a pass rusher as a freshman, at least in a lot of situations, as Anthony Hill. But Anthony Hill started making an impact as early as the Alabama game, his true freshman year. I mean, he was all over the place. I expect Tyler Atkinson to have a similar impact with Texas as a true freshman, and I cannot wait to see him take the field. There's a couple of other guys we could talk about, Zach. One of which is Smoke Matthews, the corner. I mean, you're going to need a fifth corner in your system with Will Muschamp. He should provide lots of depth. He should provide some instant impact reps there. I don't expect him to start by any means or anything like that, but he's similar to Cade Phillips last year. I think that he's going to be ready to slide in and make an impact as a freshman. And you kind of go on down the list. There's a lot of really good players in this 2026 class that should get some early reps, at least in the non-conference. Richard Wesley, Jamarian Carlton, James Johnson, who's the other one I was going to talk about? Where did he go? I've got this whole thing. Derek Cooper is the other guy that I wanted to talk about a little bit too. Had Texas not made the change at running back and brought in Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown, and had CJ Baxter and Trey Wisner stuck around as your veteran running back tandem, I think Derek Cooper could have made a case to be running back one. Like, this guy is just different, and I cannot wait to see what he does. There's going to be a lot less pressure on him to make an impact as a freshman because of the additions that you made in the portal. But he's probably going to come in and be running back number 3 and be a little bit of a change of pace guy from Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown. Obviously, if depending on what they end up doing with Michael Terry, that could change. But I expect him to at least get some run early in the season, especially in non-conference. And if he can hit the ground running and really be an impact player when he gets his touches, Sark will trust in him more, and he'll give him some opportunities in conference play to make an impact. But super talented kid there as well. And then an underrated guy that I love, he's an Austin native. My buddy Brooks Austin cannot say enough about this kid, and he's one of those football scouting guru guys. We'll have him on the show at some point. Yaheem Riley. Just keep a lookout for that name. Nobody expected Grayson Littleton to come in and make an impact as a freshman. He wasn't the most highly thought of player in that class. Yaheem Riley, he's my pick to be the surprise true freshman for Texas. I'm just putting that one out there. You heard it here first. Yaheem Riley, keep an eye out for that name.
Yeah, I agree with you. 3-star guy. He may gotten overlooked a little bit in the 2026 class, but we've had some Austin natives, step up in the secondary in a few seasons past. Of course, it's not like Yaheem Riley is going to for sure be Jade Barron or for sure be Andrew Makuba or for sure be Michael Taft. Those guys are one of a kind. So, but at the same time, I do think that because he's a little bit underrated, maybe he'll be a little bit hungrier and he can improve himself. Probably not going to be instant impact guy, but certainly a name to watch. Maybe he'll make a few flash plays here, in conference play whenever it's, late in the second half and Texas is up by a lot. And those are the reps that you need if you're going to eventually contribute down the line. So, yeah, I like him as well. And going back to Derek Cooper for a second, I think the world of this guy. And you never know what happens with injuries. You would hope that Raleek Brown and Hollywood Smith stay healthy the entire season. But as we saw this past year with Texas's running back room and some of the injuries they got hit with, you just never know what's going to happen. And so Derek Cooper could have to step in at any given point and be the backup running back, which is a crucial position to play. And you never know; he could finish the year with some solid games under his belt. And then when you enter into 2027, he could be ready to take over the starting role, depending on what happens with Smothers and Brown. You just never know. But I think this guy's the future. And I think that Sark won't do the same thing that Tom Herman did with Bijan Robinson, where he holds him back for whatever reason. I don't think it's kind of a different situation, of course, but I think that Derek Cooper will be able to show the country what he can do by 2027, and he'll be able to put a few plays on this highlight reel this upcoming year.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever going to forgive Tom Herman for the way that he used Bijan Robinson as a freshman. Like I can't understand it. I never will. Luckily, Sark came in and changed things with Bijan, so that was great to see. But we will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. Just a reminder to like the video, subscribe to our channel and our podcast, give us a good rating. All the things, it really helps with engagement. You guys can even hop in the comments on the live stream, and we'd love to interact with you and have some good friendly banter there. But like I said, we will be back tomorrow. You can find me on X at Matt Galatzan. You can find Zach on X at Zach Dimmitt 7. You can find us on X at Longhorns on SI. And most importantly, don't forget to tell somebody you love them, and we'll catch you in the next one.